This one is half kneeling positions, and in clinic typically I'll say the position is the important part. The exercise is whatever you want to do in that position, and it's for stabilizing the core and the hips. And what we're doing is just getting rid of all the feet joints, the ankle joints, and the knee, so that we can isolate better through here. Now, the position is half kneeling. More stability, less stability for a harder progression. From the side, the knee, hip, and shoulder will be in one straight line. A lot of times I start with what we call triple flexion on the toes, so you have the foot and the calf helping. But the way we get rid of those is just flop them down, and now you have more stabilization that's going to come through the hip and the core. Another variation of this position is to create more of an oblique half kneeling, where you have external rotation in both of the hips. And then I'll show the progression for that towards the end. But for now, where we usually start with this is something called the half kneeling halo. And so we get leg up, again, easier, harder. We're gonna go stamp the wall behind you, stamp the floor behind you. And the idea here is to keep elbows together to get higher up in the mid-back between the shoulder blades. If you bring them out, now you're going into the lower back and losing your stabilization through the core and the rib cage being into the pelvis. And then the last one is to stamp the floor here. You can choose to have a ceiling stamp as well, but the idea is we're just creating instability around the system so that you have to prevent yourself from falling over, and essentially it's just helping your brain figure it out. You can do anything from a press to a tricep on either side. If you want to use a band, yeah, we can get into bicep curls, overhead press, anything that will create instability in the system. And for the sake of the video and where I'm at, I'm going to create a low to high chop. And essentially, I'm creating the reverse side chain of muscles from here to here. And now you can feel your butt and your back doing work in that position. Now, if I move over to this other area, we can do something called a pallof press. And again, any exercise you want to put into this is going to be a good exercise. So we're here, and now I'm just preventing myself from falling over. So I can push, bring it in, bring it up, and push out there. I can rotate with this, back either way, but essentially just keeping myself from falling over into rotation. And the exercise I do gravitate mostly towards in this position is going to be a half kneeling chop, because now we're creating extension and rotation of the mid-back, which is a problem for most people, extension of the hip, which is also a problem for most people, and then allowing you to stay in that position of stability as you move the band through the motion. And then if you can create this, we can get into flexion and rotation to add more spinal movement through the system and the chain. The last little bit we'll discuss is an oblique sit. And that is going to be in this externally rotated position. And I'll do it from the side so you can see what that looks like. And initially the test is we want to be able to stand up with the front leg without using the back leg, and create the chain from the big toe up the leg, through the thigh, into the core, and the system maintaining height through the chain. And it'll look like that. Common errors are people buckling in the hip, or the most common one is just using momentum and jerking themselves up through the move. So, the exercise to incorporate this is just to come into an oblique sit, all the way down. Using your hands as counterbalance, making sure the head and back are straight. Common difficulties for patients is they get to a position right about here, and then they just go straight back, not creating that eccentric loading of the external rotators of the hip. And so a way to help that is give yourself an input device. Allow this to come down until you're comfortable, and then pull with the body to bring your hips back up. To make it more difficult, you would just drop this down below the foot. Make sure that foot is loaded, and you're pressing down, and then as you come up, it'll be more difficult. And that's the half kneeling position into the oblique sit.